Okay, so.
This thing is really cool. I've never used one before.
The owl?
Yeah.
So that's.
Have those lights stayed on?
Yeah,
How long have they been on?
a few minutes?
A few minutes, okay.
15 minutes, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Then they're probably on for good.
okay, sweet.
I brought snacks.
I just kind of randomly threw everyone's plates.
Oh, that's fine.
So,
You can go wherever.
Yeah.
They are peach cherry crumble bars.
Oh, my word.
And they're gluten-free. So they also didn't totally cool before I had to leave. So they're very crumbly, but I came prepared. Sam is running 10 minutes late, but he is coming in person.
Oh, it's delicious.
I only had 5 plates. But that's why I brought that.
So this is a 360 camera?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
It's our-
The owl has returned.
Back. Are there multiple?
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so we have two, a white one and a black one. Yeah, these came from my work because I was trying to upload our inventory of stuff, so I could get down to like 2 storage beds, instead of 3, and so.
And Miranda's been obsessed with wanting one of these forever.
For a long time.
It seemed to work well last time.
Yeah, so you like posted that, sent that to her in the mail. She was just like, owl, owl.
I know. And then she's like, when do you think we're gonna get those? I'm like, I'm sorry, I haven't been by the shed yet.
Okay, so yeah, oops. So I know Sam will be like 10 minutes late. Are we online yet?
Yes.
Okay, is there anybody on?
It's Miranda. I'm here.
Miranda.
Oh,
Everyone.
It says you're not in the meeting.
I don't know why it's like showing up as just you, but I'm on. I don't know. I'm here though.
I did. Alex gave me the idea last time, like sign in but silently, and then I can like see
Yes.
the people that are on. It's so much easier that way. And I don't know.
People who are attending remotely, see, you're missing out. The snacks belong to us.
Yeah.
There will be.
Miranda, I'll make Peter take one back to the office for you if you want.
I'm not
I'm not
going.
back until next week. So as much as that sounds amazing.
Bummer.
Not going to.
Casey said she'll be on in 1 to 2 minutes.
Wi-Fi is off. Why are you off Wi-Fi?
So.
Well, I think you guys are missing out because it's beautiful out here at the park.
I was just there.
I didn't grab your.
Oh, I thought we were having the meeting here, so this is where I came, but nobody showed up.
Well, that's since he's outside right now.
Oh,
guess
I was
didn't
just
read the
down.
agenda.
I missed it.
Hey,
Sorry, there's.
yeah, it was a little hard to get out of the neighborhood today.
Sarah's like, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's just the day that it's
Well, in Big Spring,
the town decided to.
It was a little challenging to get out of the neighborhood.
Yes. There were no signs either.
Did you put out Nikki's already?
No, I got it. Like,
Where's Nikki's? Is it out already?
no, it's in the file.
There she is.
Then I didn't.
How am I doing?
So, that's enough.
Now I'm
That's big,
Is
that's
it-
big progress.
So good. Adorable. I can see the right word.
Where's it for?
Oh, CT.
They had Japanese.
Don was curious where
I
Miss
love it.
Meadows is.
Very cool.
Oh, so I brought,
Make sure I haven't missed it.
how do I join? Okay, sorry, I know we're a scooch behind, my apologies. So terribly sorry for the online people, but for in-person people, we have baked goods. They are peach, cherry crumble bars, and they are gluten-free.
Wow, okay.
I used almond flour, and they are very crumbly because I didn't have quite enough time to actually cool them down before I got here. So,
Not fresh.
yeah, I made them. Oh, did I just make that happen?
Mute yourself because you're talking.
Okay, sorry, that was my bad. Now we're good.
I think all board meetings should offer food. Especially.
I can't not
I
make
think someone
these.
should make that a formal motion.
Ooh,
Let's do that.
I can't not make these when there's peaches, and the cherries were ridiculously good.
Palisades peaches.
They
Are
say
any in your,
Colorado, well, it's gotta be.
so, or what?
they're not.
Palisade is in Colorado.
No, no, you had trees. I have stuff, but not like,
Okay.
not these, not peaches or cherries. I don't think you can grow peaches up here. Really?
I think it's worth a shot.
Nothing is growing in my garden.
I got hailed on too many times.
Oh man, the hail today was busy. So anyway, help yourselves. There's
Thank you.
these and little plates. And yeah, they're very messy, but you should super help yourselves. Like
Yeah.
just.
I'm not gonna wait.
I should probably have another one.
I
boy.
think you like your meetings better than I like.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
Aw.
Bit of a logistical difficulty, but you know what?
I know, yeah.
They're very,
Oh, shit.
I think, yeah. She's on.
okay. Oh, yeah, I
And I
see.
could believe. Yes, thank you for doing that last time. Casey, hello. Are you good to take notes?
Hi, yes, I am.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I'm here. I just I ran into somebody on the trail down here at Chapita Park, and somebody's crashing the start of our meeting.
Hi.
You
I'm
get- you run into all kinds of cool neighbors at the park. That's what I like about it. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna run
Cool,
into.
we're starting, so we'll see you later, Billy.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
I'm starting the meeting.
Yay.
That's the best part.
Absolutely.
Okay, call to order. Let's see. All right, roll call. Me, I'm here. Alex.
Here.
Lindsay. Here. Casey.
Here.
Jesse.
Here.
Sam is on his way. CT.
Here?
What call you? I don't call you. That's everybody, right? Because we're down one right now. Wait, who am I missing?
Nobody.
I don't think you're missing.
That's right. Okay, good. All right. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully everybody has the agenda. If not, definitely pull it up on your phone or computer. And I have a copy here. And I see we have one member of the public. Welcome. We will do a couple of business items, and then we'll have an opening for public comment a little bit later in the agenda in like 5 minutes. Let's see. So yeah, first item is the approval of the July minutes. Does anybody want a motion for those to be approved? They are linked in the agenda and Alex sent them around.
Motion to approve the July minutes.
So,
All right. All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Jesse said aye, Casey, I'm aye, Alex aye,
aye, yes.
CT aye, Lindsay aye, excellent, lovely. That seems quicker. All right, cool. Let's see, so, Alex had a really good idea, just to share, there's a new standing item on the agenda. Alex had a good idea that we should at least like look at all of any letters that we get from the public in between meetings. And my idea was to just put it in the public comment section so we can just make sure to like acknowledge them. And, you know, if they need discussion, someone can propose that we add them to discussion, but at the very least, we should all make sure we see them and acknowledge them. So I don't know if I'll do this every time. I link them in the agenda, but I'm just gonna actually read them because they're relatively short and it seemed like the easiest way to make sure that we all saw them. And also, by the way, one went to my spam, as did a couple of my own emails. So just FYI, that's still happening. So Yes, so I will read the letters and I know, okay, so the first one is from Mike DeSaro, which, oh, maybe that's Mike, possibly on the internet.
Hi, present.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. So I can read this in, that's, hello, PROSAB. I have a few questions for PROSAB after reading the open letter from Sam on Nederland Engage. There was a lot of great information provided, so thank you for that. What is the, oh, and the subject is pump track, is the pump track. What is the greatest amount of capital that PROSAB has fundraised before? How long will it take to fundraise 500,000 K to complete the project? In the event that the minimum amount is not raised, what will PROSAB do with the funds that were collected? There was an estimated annual sales tax revenue of 12.5 K shared in the article. This estimate comes from what assessment? In theory, this pump track sounds fun for the community, but the financial numbers presented seem like a poor business ROI. Regardless, thanks for trying to improve town. Best regards, Mike. Mike, let me ask, is there anything you wanted to add to that before? Unfortunately, Sam's running a scooch late, so he's not here yet, although Jesse is on.
I can speak to that, yeah.
Yeah, cool. But Mike, since you are on tonight, is there anything you would like to add to that, or should we just ask Jesse to address your questions?
Yeah, thank you for bringing up my concerns. And first and foremost, thank you guys for even being a advisory board for town. I really appreciate Parks and Rec and all the things that you guys do. It doesn't sound like an easy job, and sorry if my email came across as negative in some way. But I do really appreciate you guys using the Nederland Engage and making it more visible for people to read and everything. Yeah, I see some hands raising. That's awesome.
You're making me feel so happy right now.
But yes, I think it's really good what you guys are doing. I just had some like the numbers that were being presented were kind of eye-popping to me. And so I guess, yeah, it's more of a whatever general feedback. I'm kind of looking at just like overall feasibility of this fundraising, since I think that it was determined that no taxpayer dollars would be contributed to the creation of this pump track. And then the minimum amount to reach for it to be like, you know, kind of a usable park was presented as $250,000. And I was just curious, that sound like, to me, that sounds like a very large value to reach to make this project successful. And just curious of like the overall experience of this board in fundraising that amount of capital, and like maybe an estimate of how long it would take to reach that goal.
Great, thanks, Mike. Yeah, Jesse, do you want to take a couple of minutes to address the questions?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your input. And I've been one of the champions, co-championing this pump track effort with Sam Ovet. And so that number basically came from a ballpark estimate from the premier pump track building company in the world. And they happened to be opening a new pump track at the time when we were initially discussing this. And they happened to be opening a pump track just down in Broomfield, I think, at the time. And we had reached out to them because through a series of referrals, and so they came up and they looked at our area that we were considering and said this would be a great area for it. Totally fit one in here, and this would be your kind of your ballpark budget. And you know, they've been building pump tracks in Leadville and all over Colorado and all over the country, and I believe all over the world as well. So that was sort of our initial bar that was set. And I was going to save this update for the whole PROSAB board for other business, but it's appropriate to answer Mike's question, so I'll just share it with you now. So I had this funny, real interesting thing happen. First of all, when we were discussing the pump track at the BOT, I never gave you guys this update either, I don't think, but there was a neighbor of Billy, the mayor, Mayor Billy's, who had a brother-in-law who was down in Belmont building a new jump, and he was in town, and he said he would, you know, give a competing bid that would arguably be much less than that. And so he's kind of connected to our community. He's not the premier company that gave us the initial numbers, but that's another option. And so then I'm an excavator, and I kind of got started with this whole conversation because I was offering to provide some services to the town, more in the aligned flow trails and some downhill trails. But in the course of the meeting with Nikki and the Parks Department, we talked about the pump track as well, and then here we are today. So, but I told you I'm an excavator because I follow a lot of other excavators on Instagram. And so I saw this cool guy who's doing skid steers, like the skid steers like a little bobcat with wheels, and it turns around like this. And he was doing front wheelies on his all around on the terrain and balancing. And then I noticed, and he's somebody that I follow. And then I noticed he was doing front wheelies in his skid steer on a pump track. And he was going around the pump track, and it was paved and everything. And so I commented, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was looking at his feed, and I noticed his truck is from my same hometown. So I was like, oh my goodness, are you from my little podunk town in rural New Mexico? And then I was like, that's an awesome pump track. We're looking to build one in our town. And he was like, hey, if you have $20,000 or $30,000, just let me know and I'll build one just like it. And we just sketched a design in the sand, and we built this one, and it looked great. And it was, so it looked fine. So basically what I'm telling you, the short answer is that was the initial budget we got from the premier pump track building company. And since then we've come across some other very affordable options. So I'm 100% confident that we can raise at least $20,000 to $30,000 for, you know, like a pump track that this guy who can ride a front wheelie on his skid steer could build for us, and I could help him. Or we could do something like Billy's neighbor that might be a next tier up, or we could go with the premier if our fundraising goes really well. So I think it's very much TBD. Right now we've been funded to do the blueprints and the design work, and that's to the tune of $10,000 with the premier company. So they're going to give us a drawing. I'm here at Chipeta Park right now doing a survey of the land so that they can plug that into their design work. And so we're going to have a great design, and then we have to get that approved through our boards and the BOT and get a building permit, and then we'll go and fundraise. So the fundraising is not set in stone by any means, and nor is the budget. So basically we can build a pump track that will fit our budget, and that's ultimately the long and short of it. It'll fit whatever we can fundraise, and I'm confident that we can fundraise at least $10,000 to $30,000.
I think one more key point, Jesse, is that PROSAB is not fundraising this money. You're forming a nonprofit in the
Correct. Well, I don't know if I'm going to form one or partner with one or somehow partner with the town, but it's not going to. I've declared publicly that this is not going to be paid for by taxpayers' dollars, and there will be outside fundraising done. So
successfully followed that model at the skate park. Yeah. So that's
a very good point. And I think usually when, I don't know how it worked with the skate park, but usually when an organization is embarking upon a capital campaign, there is sort of like rules and regulations, paperwork laid down about where the money, what will happen to the money if something, that we aren't there yet, essentially. And by we, I mean that whatever the entity is that's formed that will be fundraising around this, since again, it won't be PROSAB, it will be some external entity.
Right. And the pump track hasn't gotten through its final phase of approval, which is ultimately a building permit that would be permitted by the BOT.
So right now we're in the design exploration phase, and Jesse and Sam are talking to folks and that sort of thing. So they're really, really good questions to raise, and a lot of that is sort of TBD and in the works. And Nikki, our parks manager, wanted to weigh in.
With the skate park, we had a community champion that actually mortgaged his house so that we could get that. So excuse me, so that we could get the pump track started. We raised enough money as a community to pay him back. immediately. So it was only a temporary solution to get the ball rolling, but it was to the tune of $275,000. So, but we, as a community, championed behind him and were able to pay him back before the build was even completed.
And then I think just Jesse, I know you're outside, so you may not have this in front of you, but one of Mike's other questions was a question about where the estimated annual sales tax revenue of $12,500, where that assessment came from in the letter that Sam wrote, if you know that. Oh, you're on, Jesse, you're muted.
It's purely speculative, and even our town budget is a speculation. Like, we don't know what the tax revenue is going to be, and so it's, you know, I imagine Sam did a bit of research and drew on some sources, but tax revenue can never be predicted 100%. It's always speculative. Even our town budget is based on speculation about tax revenue.
All right, and Mike, when Sam comes, if he has more about where he got the sort of basis for the projection, we'll definitely ask him to follow up with you on email.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Jesse, and thank you, Kat, for the
Of
good
course.
responses. Yeah, sorry. I know, I guess I understand that it's very early in the phase, but I guess it's the first time I've seen numbers presented, and so I was like, freak out moment, you know. I was like, oh, what's going on here? So, thank you for you know, all your experience that you got there with excavation, and it seems like you definitely know what you guys are doing there. So I never had a question about that. I was just curious about the overall cost and how that would even be possible. But if it sounds like you can reduce the overall cost to 10% of what was presented, you know, like $30,000 instead of $300,000, well then, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Bring it to town. It's that sounds fun.
Okay.
Got it. Great. Thank you, Mike. So the second letter that I wanted to make sure we had at the meeting is from Tanya Corvalon, who is also a Board of Trustee member, related to the skate park. And Miranda did respond to this via.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Miranda.
Between junk mail.
Yeah, it probably did. The spam thing is problematic.
Mhm.
But Miranda did respond, and I didn't print that out, but I can like find it. But Tanya wanted to let us know, hi, I just wanted to relay info about an incident that occurred to my son's friend at the skate park. His friend on a bike was harassed by the sheriff and made to stop riding and created a lot of tension. It makes me very sad. There are a few kids that regularly use the skate park and not all of them can skate. I would like PROSAB to open up the skate park to bikes as well. I appreciated the opening up to scooters. It bothers me that the police don't have anything better to do than harass kids. Thanks so much.
May I respond?
Miranda already responded.
Yeah, Miranda did respond,
Yeah.
essentially, if you want, but you're welcome. I'm sure you'll say the same thing.
Well, it was Miranda's response.
I can read it, Kat, if you'd like.
Thank you.
After connecting with members of our town staff and individuals who were involved in the development of the skate park, we have agreed that the current skate park is not meant for bicycles. This decision was originally made by the Ned Skate Board of Directors, who felt it was a safety concern because skaters and bikers travel different lines at far different speeds, increasing the chances for collision. The skate park was also not designed for bicycles, as bicycles can cause damage to the surface. The concrete is a different material, even though it looks the same, and things like pedals, footstands, metal chains, and handlebars can gouge the surface. That was sent to the sender of the comment.
It is also a town ordinance that we do not allow bicycles in the skate park, and we have been recently calling the sheriff because of the amount of bicycles that are in the skate park.
Yeah.
I have also made it clear to the teen center that we will shut the skate park down for a week if this keeps happening. It's a constant problem, and the kids have gotten really aggressively coming at me with arguments that I've told them, if you really want something changed, they worked to get the scooters changed. And I told them, if you really want the bicycle thing changed, then you need to work for that to be changed. But as it stands, we would need to create hours. We would need to have different material, which we do not. So
Seems like another good argument for the pump track.
that's exactly the truth.
So,
Sorry you're dealing with that, Nikki.
yeah. Appreciate you handling that. All right. I don't believe I see any other folks on.
There was another email that came through from Bill Eichler
Oh,
regarding some weeds in the Moose Meadows.
that was just to you and me, I think, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then he said he sent it to you also about, yeah, some invasives.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Okay,
you.
do-
Yeah, and I was like, talk to Nikki, so.
Invasive weeds and plants continue to be a menace in our parks, in
Yeah.
our ditches.
Had many comments about it in the last couple of weeks.
It's a very rainy summer and they are
Yeah.
on shy this year.
Thanks. Miranda, is that you with your hand raised?
It is. And just when Mike emailed, that really wasn't a space for town staff to respond. Typically, if you all get an email at PROSAB as staff, we can respond. It's not a sunshine law violation. Just wondering, Kat, if the best response is, hey, why don't you come to a PROSAB meeting where they'll talk about your letter? Or do you have another thought of how you'd like to see maybe emails like Mike's responded to?
Wait, sorry, are you asking that? I mean, that is essentially what we said.
But no one responded. I don't think anyone responded to Mike directly, like, hey, this will be discussed, or did. It's hard to say. It's hard to know if anyone responded.
Yeah, Miranda.
Okay, great.
No, I responded to Mike as soon as I found it in my spam and I copied Sam.
Okay, will you copy staff too? Because otherwise I just have it flagged as an unresponded to email. So it's just helpful, I think, if you throw me and Nikki on it too, so we can mark it off.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have one follow-up. I noticed that my email was attached to the agenda. I'm totally fine with like representing my own thoughts and questions, but I don't know if like sensitive information like personal emails should be redacted from said attachments.
Yes, Mike, that is a really good point. Sorry about that. That's my bad.
No worries.
Packet, so they get a choice whether it's shown to everyone or not.
Yeah, Mike, my real apologies. I can, I think we can probably put have a different, I can probably get that taken off and like have the document re-uploaded. But that is a really good point, and that's totally my error. So thank you for raising that. But yeah, that's a good point. But the email would probably be redacted anyway, would be my guess, right? And if they weren't there.
I think that's.
So, yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
All right. So hi, Sam.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome.
Sorry for the delay.
No, you're good. All right. So I think now we are moving on to our informational items. It's all you, Nikki. Staff report.
All right. The 2023 July 4th events were provided this year by this is the staff report for the month of July 2023. It's Nikki Dunn, Parks Manager. It has been many years since the town has hosted this event. The annual parade was followed by a potluck picnic and a family-friendly gathering at Chipeta Park. Parks and Streets Departments were happy to meet with the community in a more casual setting. It's often that we don't get to meet with the community in a casual setting. And in fact, even in a casual setting, they still pull you aside to talk business. But the hot dogs were perfect. And the only complaint heard was the desire to see the parade go around twice. And fireworks, so we had a petition to get fireworks coming back, but Peter and I actually discussed the idea of doing a laser show, and but we look forward to growing this tradition into something even bigger next year. And I will say thank you to Peter because he's been helping Parks with a lot of the planning and definitely helping with the public engagement on our different events that we're trying to throw. Nederland Ice Rink and Tennis Park were transitioned for the season to fully open for tennis. Several members of the tennis community came to help the Parks team with the transition. Process takes many hours to complete and is cumbersome and complex, and in fact is still not finished. Staff has written a grant proposal that was submitted to GoCo, and we were not invited to apply, so it's a sneak peek for next month, but we had hoped to secure funding to allow for the redesign and construction of a new facility. The next cycle on that grant, just FYI, is in October, and we do anticipate that we will tweak it enough. I'm very hopeful that we will be invited. The competition was incredibly stiff, and it sounded like we were pretty close, so this would, if the grant would allow us to eventually eliminate the need to move the boards to accommodate the tennis courts. The facility is in great need for maintenance issues in order to maintenance issues to be completed before, in order to continue operations. Maintenance of the facility is not part of the grant that we will be applying for. And as you all know, you gave approval for spending $17,500 this year for the surface removal, which looks fabulous. Have you been there? It really looks nice. And where the boards were down, you can see they went all the way to the edge of the concrete.
Yeah.
Next year, we do plan on resurfacing the entire court, which will be a process of first we shot blast and then we resurface. Theoretically, if we've been invited to apply and get that grant, maybe we would look at resurfacing for pickleball, painting some tennis lines, but really kind of focusing on the pickleball side of it because the tennis courts would move. But of course, we'll always provide the tennis. Don't get me wrong there. Don't get me wrong there. But a new surface would also allow us to host summertime events, which is going to be a huge money-making opportunity for the Parks Department. Roller disco nights, community movie nights, those are a couple of things that have been tossed out at the facility. So yeah, it could be a really hopping place year round if we could get some of these maintenance issues that have been occurring over the last 18 years taken care of. So we will look at rewriting our proposal to GoCo and resubmitting that in October, and hopefully we'll hear back November-ish, whether or not we're invited to apply.
And how much were you asking for?
1.23 million,
Okay.
with some of that being in kind.
We don't have to match any of it?
Matches coming from rink and a skosh from tennis, and then a little bit of in kind from town, but no dollars from the town of Nederland.
Wait, Nikki, there was money from Nederland. It was the Conservation Trust Fund that
Oh,
was added to the match. I think the total match from town was like 100,000 and some change,
so
with 70 coming from rink and tennis.
and so it's money that we kind of already have. So we'll see how it all plays out. Thanks, Miranda. So the Nederland Cemetery saw a week of community love with the Presbyterian Church coming in for a day of lawn work. They've done this for several years for me now. Jim Reese gathers a group together from the Presbyterian Church and other community members, and it really makes a difference in the look of the site. Stonemason Kevin Woodman donated several hours of his time to the place and was able to reset 6 of our historical stones. I literally cried when I saw Alvaretta Ray go back on her base, because for 10 years that has been a very special place for me. And I sit with Alvaretta and have lunch, and I always tell her, somehow, some way, someday I'm going to get you back on your base. And when he put her back on her base, I literally cried. I turned around and said, "Don't look at me. I'm not a girl, I promise."
It's okay to cry.
Yeah, it was a cry-worthy moment.
I cried in the Barbie movie, so I think.
Okay, here we go. Barbie movies.
It was. So he has a group of a few friends that are hopeful to come back possibly next year. We'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. But either way, it was nice to have some actual stonework going into the cemetery. It was really a cool thing. Barker Meadows Park is rocking. It's really nearing completion. Large boulders have been placed in the northeast corner of the field to create another place for people to enjoy. Grass is growing, trails are near complete, amenities have been steadily going into place, and signs for the park are in.
Yeah. Great.
Peter did a really nice job.
I did a 10-minute sign.
I sent him an idea and he turned it into something amazing. And so,
It's awesome.
Down there in ages.
yeah, it really is. We are checking boxes left and right down there. So, concrete pad for ADA and bicycle parking was poured today.
So exciting.
And my 2023 penny is right at the entry. So, I put a penny in every time they pour concrete again. I put the penny of these. So this one happens to be right at the entry to the park. And it looks fabulous. Tomorrow they're gonna come back in diamond cut, which is what they did to the rink to make it look all smooth and pretty. They'll do that, I think it's tomorrow, or I could be wrong, it might be Monday, but either way, it looks fabulous. And I am working with Rita right now to figure out how many pennies I have left to spend down there. It's not a lot. It's about $8,000, maybe give or take. It's left to spend on that grant. And then we will be completing the end of grant paperwork by the end of September. Is this a good time for me to address the grass down there? Okay, let me interject really quickly on my staff report. So the grass seed mix is a native to Nederland grass seed mix that we grow at Chipeta Park. It's a high and dry mountain type seed. The flower mix that's down there was not chosen by me. It was chosen by Chris Pelletier. It's really quite beautiful right now. It really is something fabulous. It's a seed mix that's grown, or the flower mix is grown in many places around here. It's got a lot of California poppies, which you probably won't see those again next year, because what's going to happen at the end of this is we have to come through with a large rake that fits on the back of our baby tractor, and we have to rake out. The scarification that happened on the field was necessary to happen because of how hard and compacted the field was. And so in order to grow grass, we had to dig in these deep ruts across the field, and then spray a heavily spray the area with fertilizer before we were able to put the seed down. Thankfully, the seed is taking, it's doing great. We were very fortunate to have a very wet year. The idea of this seed though, let me keep going with the scarification. The scarification will go away on its own. But what we plan on doing to kind of speed along that process is to do a deep rake on it after the grass seed and the things that are planted down there and growing right now do their own thing and go to seed. So sometime before hard freeze, after seed. We'll come through with a hard rake, we'll rake it out, and try to speed the smoothing process down a little bit. But like I said, it will go away on its own. Was never on our intention at all in any way, shape or form to mow this year. It's always been the intention to let the seed do what the seed needed to do. It is our intention to treat the Gercio Field area somewhat maybe like we do the cemetery, where it gets mowed a couple of times a year. But the grass seed that's there is meant to be a low-lying grass seed. So we shouldn't have to mow it every day like we do Chipeta Park. So the flowers that are there this year, enjoy them, because it's likely that they won't be there next year. And the grass seed that is there is a native to Nederland mix. And hopefully that'll just keep doing what it's doing and seed out as often as it can. And this year it is kind of going to be what it is. We're trying to do, if we need to, we'll do mitigation in areas where if it gets too tall or out of control in a certain area, then of course we would bring a weed whacker out there or whatever, but it is not in our intention to mow it this year. And in fact, Chris Pelletier never wanted to mow it. Looking at the seed mix that we have down there, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we'll end up having to mow it a couple times a year just to kind of keep it knocked down for field play. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay, great. Oh, also, we did not plant. There was no scentless chamomile or thistle in that grass seed mix. That is just what's happening to our area right now. It was not part of the mix. It was there already. And part of my biggest problem is the AmeriGas property. Kat knows this very well. Yep, we all know this. The AmeriGas property has been overgrown with weeds to the point that I'm gonna have to get code enforcement on it. Because I have been getting, a lot of complaints about weeds in town, and it's not just Bill Eichler, and it's not just other, people. It's a regular thing where I'm getting complaints on weeds in town. In a way that I've never had before. I've never heard it before.
It's way worse this year.
It's way worse this year.
Or because it's like just worse and
It's-
spread.
It's an exponential problem.
Yeah.
It's gonna get
We didn't
worse.
really address it last year.
Gonna get a couple of just kind of.
Well, we tried to,
Did our best.
we did weed polls last year, and we tried to steam weeds for the last couple of years, and that was really just ineffective. So last month I spent, $5,000 of the parks budget spraying areas of town,
Yeah.
which is not my favorite thing to do. I do not, I prefer the weed pulls for certain, I do, but it has gotten out of control, and it's an issue that's become, if I don't take care of my stuff, how can I point the finger at anyone else? So I had some areas that are not heavily trafficked by people right now, sprayed for some weeds using the same spray that the town of Nederland has used for the last 12 years. So I'm not unfortunately seeing some great results. I'm seeing good results on the thistles and knapweeds, but not a lot of great result on the scentless chamomile.
What's the deal with it? Is the spray having a big negative impact, this particular mix, or does it?
It's a spray, so it's not always environmentally friendly to, it can affect the bees and the birds and the butterflies, and that's not my MO. to
There's
be
a balance.
Sure, there is definitely a balance. Chipeta Park, I'm very proud to say Chipeta Park is chemical free. We do not use a single chemical at Chipeta Park. We use dehydrated poultry product, we do weed pulls, we do whatever we can to keep Chipeta Park completely 100% chemical free. But in other areas of town, I got 3 staff
Yeah.
members and me, and we pull a handful every day. It's like cigarette butts, where
Yeah.
if my staff is walking someplace, you pick up 5 cigarette butts, but I'll never get them all.
Yeah. The reason I asked, because I remember, I feel like, and I don't want to misquote her, but saying that there was like a bit of a misperception about the use of spray, and that I feel like she had said, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, that there was spray that could be used that had like a pretty minimal impact.
That's what we use this year.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
called Milestone. It's
Right.
what Rhea used, and it's what I've continued to use with this company. Unfortunately, with the scentless chamomile, I need to hit it earlier in the season,
Okay.
so I already have them scheduled for next June before the scentless chamomile flowers.
Yeah.
Because once it flowers, it becomes incredibly strong. And each scentless chamomile it can produce 1 million seeds, so. Those areas were down this trail over here between Community Center and Third Street, behind the veterinarian's office at the Ned Vet, over by our Old Town shop, over at the Public Works shop up in that area, down in Agurcio along the AmeriGas fence line, but I couldn't go onto the AmeriGas property.
Right.
And in that area, and then he did some of the area by the Welcomes to Nederland sign. What am I forgetting? I might be forgetting one. If you'd like to know the areas that were sprayed, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll send you the maps. The thistles are they're harder to pull. They're not as friendly to pull. But the thistle can germinate they can vegetate by the root.
Right.
Whereas a scentless chamomile needs the seed.
Yeah.
So, I was pretty happy to see that the mitigation efforts that we did this year, the thistle is being affected by it.
Oh, cool.
Nice. So that's kind of that. Parks programming is important for the growth of the department as well as a source of revenue for the town. Several programs are already running in the community and will be developed, while other programs are still in the concept phase. As part of the sale of the Denver Broncos, 2% of the net profit was allocated to the Metropolitan Football Stadium District through terms of the original lease and management agreement between the Stadium District and PDB Sports Ltd. The town of Nederland, which is a part of the Stadium District, which we're very lucky for that, received $21,762.43, which will be spent on youth activities. Means the funds can be spent on sports, music, art, dance, or any other youth activities. We're currently evaluating what is the best way to distribute the funds. It is the intention that the Parks Department will keep $5,000 of that to run the junior firefighters program next year. Unfortunately, with the fire department being kind of without a chief, we were not able to execute that this year. However, hindsight is kind of a blessing in disguise because Charlie Schmidtman and I recently saw a 9 News article where the city of Aurora is doing this junior firefighting program, and they really reached out to women or girls, trying to encourage girls to become firefighters. So I said, can we incorporate that into our program? Of course we can.
Heck yeah.
So we're really gonna try and, devote at least a day of that program to the girls in town, see what we can come up with for supporting our young ladies. But we've had some meetings with the Youth Advisory Board and other organizations where we're, trying to come up with the best way that we can distribute the funds. We're asking organizations that work with youth along the peak to peak share what their funding needs are. Specifically, we're asking that they provide a brief, description of how they would use the funds if they're awarded and how much money that they would need. We have a fillable form on our town's website, and we're asking that different organizations complete the request for information by September 1st, 5 p.m. And yeah, if you need any other information for those organizations, please send them mine or Miranda's or Peter's way. Thank you, folks. And that is it for the July 2023 staff report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So much good stuff. All right, so the only other informational item is I just wanted to let everybody know, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, so we have 2 trustees on the line, but my understanding is that the BOT codified the town strategic plan for 23-24 last 2 nights ago. Approved it 2 nights ago. So those are the goals that we had the discussion on at our last meeting, to offer feedback and both as a board and individually. And yeah, so I'm not going to read through these because you all can go to the link after the meeting, but they are linked in the agenda if you want to see what the final version was. And I just pulled out the ones that were like most directly related to PROSAB in the agenda, just because I was looking at them and I cut and pasted. So those are on there if y'all like to look at it, but congratulations to the Board of Trustees for making that happen. And thank you all for all of your hard work, both the 2 trustees on the line and also all of the rest. And of course, the town staff who worked really hard on those. And yeah, it's a lot. So it's going to be a lot. So, all right. So on to discussion items. So we have Peter and Nicole here tonight to talk community engagement, public engagement. I always call it community engagement. And they kind of have a whole agenda and such, but just jumping into it, I wanted to sort of give some context. So a few meetings ago, I was realizing like so many of us are really new, right? Like, I think like I've been around for about a year now, and CT and Sam a little longer than me, but basically.
Sorry, that's me.
God, Sam. I was thinking that one of the challenges with volunteer boards is sort of over time, housing and collecting public input that's kind of come into the board over the years. And of course, public input and housing that over time is a huge part of what Peter is doing. And so I was like, oh, hey, Peter, and thought that they might come and talk to us about that. In addition to that, just as I've linked this in the last couple of agendas, so I'm not sure if folks have seen it, but I did start putting together just a folder of what I know of in terms of community input that PROSAB has gathered. So there's, and I linked that in the agenda. So if you all can look at that, that's great. If you can't, just to give you a little bit of background on what's in there. So I linked to sort of all the existing PROSTs, right? Like, so the 2013 one, prior versions of the master plan, and then also the work that Alex and Nikki and Miranda did with the students in their capstone project in the 2023 PROST update. So there's a ton about accessibility and ADA compliance and connectivity. So that's linked in this folder, and I'm happy to send that out to you guys again. And then in addition, the only other couple of things I personally knew about, when I first joined PROSAB, Brian Curtis, Jesse Ansari, CT, and Sam and others had done a huge amount of community outreach the kind of year and change prior on the PROST update on the Trails Master Plan through a series of public charrettes. And so I put the link to the sort of all of the information in there, and then also the themes that came out of those charrettes, which a lot of were trail connectivity, accessibility, maintenance, like that sort of thing. I think also like signage and that sort of thing. I could probably click through, but accessibility and connectivity were really kind of the gigantic themes that came through in those charrettes. And I realized like a couple of meetings ago that there are probably people who haven't ever seen that because of kind of, right? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like half of PROSAB probably hasn't ever seen that. And it was just a huge amount of public input. So I definitely encourage everyone to go look and review and refresh on that, but also especially folks who came to PROSAB kind of in the last like 6 to 8 months, because it was a really kind of visceral and informative set of information from community and from all over, like farmers market and like Wild Bear, but also like the food pantry and like all around the community. So, and then I also linked to the pump track petition and other input on the pump track in there, because I thought that was also like a good recent example of public engagement. And if there's other stuff I should put in here, please send it to me, because that's just all I know about.
This is amazing.
Oh, great, yay. And I would open it up and have other people put stuff in, but I think that violates sunshine law. So just send it to me. It's read only because of the sunshine law. So, but yeah, so I don't want to spend a bunch of time on that because I want these two to have their time, but I did just want to encourage people to review that and see, especially the most recent public engagement. But yeah, but yeah, now I want to turn it over to Nicole and Peter. And you said about 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, yeah, Peter, why don't you go ahead and do your piece first? Because that's the more fun part. That's the engagement HQ that, you know, Mike had brought up and that we've been getting a lot of really positive feedback about.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
Maybe
you've got all the controls over there, so you can bring it up and show.
maybe 15 total then?
Sure.
Is that good?
And
Okay.
I'll talk fast for my part.
All right, Sipma. But yeah, so go for it. But yeah, I wanted them to talk about what they are doing and how we can kind of plug into town's public engagement priorities.
I'll share my screen for people that aren't here, but for people that aren't able to see that, you can always go to the engagement HQ.
Well, in CT, you can probably take a look at Sam's because it'll come up on the screen.
Yeah.
No one's responded to my comment. So.
Oh, did you?
No, sorry, on engagement HQ.
Oh, well, we will make sure
That's
that
my
it's
feedback.
taken care of.
So-
Where did you post it?
On the roads
On
5
the
days
roads?
ago.
Okay.
I just looked it up.
That is a quick
Show
recap
off.
for anyone who doesn't know. Engage Nederland is a platform that we have set up through Granicus and Engage HQ. When did we like officially launch that? Like May?
That sounds close enough.
As a tool to help drive engagement, digital engagement for a lot of the projects that are happening in just in town. when we were doing Envision 2030, like 2 years ago, one of the things was to create a platform for people to leave comments, be more engaged with different projects and things. And now we're able to do that. So this is what it looks like. It's called Engage Nederland. And it's just a kind of a base platform for us to list any of our large, like town-wide events, or not events, projects that are multi-step, like the paving project wasn't one of them specifically because it only lasted 3 days, but it falls under the encompassing streets and sidewalk repaving like projects that we have going on. So here are our current projects. We have our Hirschio Field Revitalization Project, which is also incorporated. We've also been referring to it as the Barker Meadows Project, or just GOCO, because that's where the grant comes from. The Streets and Sidewalks Project is actually like amalgamation of like 3 grants, like the Transportation Improvement Project, the Multimodal Transportation Project, and
Safer Main Streets.
Safer Main Streets, thank you. So it incorporates all of these, where I put the Fisherman Lot wetland creation program on there because there were a lot of questions when we were doing it. And I think as time goes on, I'll be able to archive that. So
They've done wonderful work down there.
Yeah.
yes, it looks great.
And even the parking looks nice, like,
Yeah.
it like,
Yeah.
now it fits in there nicely.
Hey Ned, we can do this.
So, and you'll also see that we've included the pump track, which was the most recent one, and our comp plan, which will get updated here soon once we really dive into the RFPs, which that ended yesterday. But it's not just a web page that's to talk about like whatever the project is. That is part of it, but it also has a bunch of other tools. People can subscribe to the program itself to get email updates. They can contact the people involved with each project directly. We have a place for documents, and at the bottom is where all of our engagement tools are. So right now for the pump track, we have a news feed where we talked about things that are happening recently. People can leave comments on that. I also pretty much across the board put this idea tab where people can just leave general comments regardless of what is actually like in process at the moment. I've seen a lot of engagement recently on our streets and sidewalks improvement stuff. So I had a few questions come up. So people can ask questions, we can answer them publicly. And as people do that, we can build out like an FAQ that can go on the site. So just quickly answer questions.
Your question isn't answered in there though.
No, it's a comment. I might not have left it correctly.
Oh.
Well, I'm
Well,
happy
you
to
can
have this
also-
tutorial, but it's in there.
You can also comment.
Yeah, it's on the comment.
Yeah.
Summer Road Improvement Plan comment. That's me.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Okay, that's you there.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that is on my list of things. I can't respond to comments on news feeds, which is frustrating. I didn't realize that until you commented, and I was like.
I'm just
Way to
pointing
point out
out
a problem.
But there are,
It's beta testing.
but there are other tools that we can use as projects dictate the need for them. We can put polls and surveys on projects. We can put interactive maps. So if we're looking for kind of similar to what the housing assessment map looked like, we can do that ourselves now. There's places where we can put like an actual forum dedicated to something. The overall goal is to direct people to the source of the information so it doesn't turn into hearsay and misinformation quickly.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job with it.
Thank you.
Like, I just want to say, all the stuff you've been doing, Peter, I think we all see it, but
Yeah.
it's really good. I think it clears up a lot of confusion and it feels like a direction and like, hey, oh, this is where I can find the information.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. Like, it looks really good and the consistency of it is awesome. So just props to what you do.
And yeah, this is my dashboard here in the back end, so I can track like how many people have visited, contributed, and just like what the overall level of engagement is. This is kind of cool because it shows like the ratio of people that are just kind of visiting versus like scrolling through pages versus commenting or like interacting with it. It's cool to see this bar, these orange and green bars widen over time. Like right now, the map's just going to show like all of our contributions are going to be from Ned. I'm not expecting that to change too much. But if we get a lot of weird stuff and I'm like, oh, it's all coming from Azerbaijan, then I can know it's like, it's spam. Okay, it's spam. And down here is where I get updates about what has actually been going on. Then respond to them or send them on to the right people. Because we had another question come on about what our future EV chargers are going to look like. So I just forwarded that over to our streets manager. He responded really quickly, and now they have like this conversation going about like EV chargers. So that's something that would have happened.
Does that exchange happen in Engagement HQ, or does that turn into like an email?
It turns into
Okay. Yes.
in the case because he commented on a news post, so I just like sent that over. But if it was if he like put it in the questions spot, then that could have turned into a conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
That could be private or public, depending on how they want to go about that. So I thoroughly urge everyone to play around with this, look at it. We can have 9 active projects going at one time. We currently have 5. The housing needs assessment actually links to the current, the other website that's outside of ours, so that doesn't count as one of ours, which is nice. So I have been asking boards if there is like any long-term projects that they want to consider. That is something we can like add to this and really get it like in front of you.
Or especially think of projects that might create a lot of interest or questions, like the pump track is a very good
That's a great
example, right? That's a great example.
I don't think the PROSAB update, like,
That could be interesting.
I would like it to create a lot of interest. I'm not sure it actually will, but it does seem like something that could,
Yeah.
I mean, not yet. It'd be a little.
Well, and it could potentially fall under the comp plan, because part of the comp plan it doesn't include the pros. So.
Yeah, the comp plan will get built out more as the other master plans get rolling. They'll get added to this as well.
Peter, I don't know if you've noticed like a trend at all yet, but is there a trend towards like if there's a specific thing, does that get more engagement versus something that's like big and beefy and it's got a bunch of multifaceted components to it where it's kind of like, well, you got to sit down and study this thing versus where this is this thing, we're gonna do it, and it's like, oh, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
I haven't noticed that yet. I imagine over time that's what it will look like.
Yeah.
Right now, just to be like fully transparent, the things that are getting the most engagement are the things people are most angry about.
Well, that seems right.
Yeah.
That's normal.
So it was like at first it was the wetlands was getting just a lot of, and then it was the pump track.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm kind of actually happy to see like conversation about like paving and EV chargers, because it defies that trend.
Okay.
And it's actually like an earnest conversation.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It'd take a while for
Yeah.
people to get used to utilizing the site.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to point out it, say like, this is where the source of truth is. You know, like if you're confused at all, like go here, this is what's accurate.
So you can see this graph here. Can you tell when I added the pump track?
Looks like the huge.
That was the letter, right?
That was when the pump track went live and the letter was added. This other spike here is when I added the wetlands project. So
that's
like,
good. People are engaged.
Yeah, you can see, and these are just
it's like 80 people.
Yeah. So you can see there's like actual engagement happening, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then if someone comments something that like Sam should know, do you send it to
Yeah.
him? Is that how it goes?
Does
I-
he get automatically updated?
right now I have it set up, so I'm the only one getting emails, and I'm gonna go back and add it in, so like, the project managers will also get those emails.
Cool, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we do want to offload off of Peter too.
Oh, yeah, big time.
You know, because if you can imagine 9 different projects going, you know, there's a potential that that's.
And there's like, you might not know the certain
Right.
details of
Sure.
something that are happening. And so it's like, well, you can respond, but you're like, I'm probably gonna call Sam or Miranda or whoever's involved with it or Nikki.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I think, well, you know, Peter, I've been really excited about all this and all your great work. And I've kind of talked to you a little bit about it as well with some of the YouTube live stuff as well. And, you know, there was a conversation about comments and, you know, how comments are just really negative. And then what you were saying about how, you know, these typical people angry about stuff. And so that's the engagement. And, you know, we as a BOT, we have a code of conduct, which we're aware of and we practice to varying degrees of, you know, kind of depends on the night a little bit, but it's still there. And I was wondering, you know, I'd love to see public comments on the YouTube live. And I also love to see the public comments on the Engage Nederland. And I'm just curious if you wanted to get into any kind of posting of our code of conduct and potentially even maintaining or enforcing that.
We discussed turning on public comments for YouTube Live when we first started doing this. The issue there is it requires someone to be actively moderating, and like we're probably not going to get a lot. It's not going to be like, you know, watching a Twitch live stream for a really popular person where they're just like millions of comments scrolling by, and you can't do that. But that's another person that has like another job that needs to be monitored. So I'm not, it is something we can explore, definitely.
I think you should seek legal counsel. I have First Amendment concerns, frankly,
I like that.
yeah, I would advise you to do that.
And we actually did talk to Attorney Madsen and she cautioned against it. Because you actually have an open meeting laws issue with comments, which is why we turn the chats off in Board of Trustee meetings, because then you don't have all trustees having equal access to the data. So I think, Jesse, it's a bit more complicated than just turning it on or off. But not on
Sure, but how
Engage
about-
Nederland.
Yeah, on Engage Nederland, that's what I was going to ask you to speak to that next. Go ahead.
Yeah, Engage Nederland, Peter. That's the right now there is encouraged comments. Although, Peter, I'll turn this back over to you. But Peter and I have talked a bit about, like, of course we want positive and productive communication, but we also want to open up a space where people can just say what they want to say, because that's a healthy part of the conversations and stories. And while no, it might not always be pretty, what we've seen is that typically through engagement and back and forth conversation, we can often change that narrative. And so we don't want someone to feel like if they're mad that they don't have an outlet in which to express that. We haven't necessarily created the guidelines, but really being mindful that people are going to express themselves in whatever way they want. It's how we then choose to respond to that or work through that I think is a lot of this engagement conversation too.
Great. So I think if it's cool, we'll switch over to Nicole's part. Although if people think of questions as we go into this, like raise them.
Yeah, the best thing you guys could help us do is just push folks towards Engagement HQ. The part that I have was, you know, some of our planning documents that sort of guide us all, you know, the BOT, everyone here. And so who's heard of Envision 2030? Okay, what is it? Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
I like want to try and describe it, but it seems hard to pin down.
I've heard of it, and I think I know what it is.
Okay,
I think
so
it's a collection of folders and documents about some meetings that people had about envisioning 2030, correct?
you know, you could have pulled that out of a hat and got pretty damn close. So yeah, I think, you know, basically what happened was the community was pulled together and asked for, hey, if you're envisioning what Nederland looks like in the year 2030, what does it look like? I've sent Kat a link to the Envision 2030 page, so you can see exactly what materialized from that. And what materialized from it were 8 different sections, and there was a vision statement that was articulated to it. And so that web page of Envision 2030, you'll see it. And now, even though there may have been other things that were brainstormed on how do you create community engagement or how do you create economic development, what actually got adopted were just the vision statements. So there was a vision statement for arts, culture, and education, community engagement, economic development, environmental sustainability, health, human and social services, housing, municipal government, parks and rec, and open space. So, but again, these vision statements were just what were adopted. Now, any questions about Envision 2030?
When was the information collected?
2021. Yep, that's when everyone came together.
What is it used for?
Vision 2020 was.
As a visioning sort of guidance, right? So, and I'll just speak very bluntly, there's not a lot of teeth behind this,
Okay.
right? Here it says for parks, recreation, and open space in 2030, Nederland residents and visitors enjoy well-maintained, accessible, ecological, sustainable parks, open space, and trails with recreational and cultural services and facilities that protect and enhance the unique ecosystem of which we are a part of. It gives us that future focus and something to obtain, but we've got to then through policy and codification actually put this into action, right? So next I come to the comprehensive plan. Anybody read through the comprehensive plan, 2013 comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Gotta have either, drink ready, coffee ready, anything ready to go, because it's a beefy document.
I read it.
Yes, you've read it. So tell me about some of the things that are in it.
How many pages is it?
It's been a while.
Oh, well, we've got it right here, and we have got it at
I like this vision statement.
61 pages.
Oh, that's not that bad.
So 61 pages. Now, but yes, for those of you who have read it, what are some things that are in it? What does it talk about?
Sustainable economic development. I don't know. I can't really remember.
There's a big focus on sustainability. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The word infill is articulated 13 times. It is a preference over annexation, although annexation is not actually opposed. But those are some of the things that have been some of the arguments that have been brought up about the comprehensive plan. It talks about our central business district. It talks about economic growth. It talks about trails. It talks about just about everything under the sun. Now, you may have also learned recently or heard that the BOT has said that it's not actually code, that it's not actually codified, that it's just a guiding document. And a lot of people kind of got mad about that. But the reality is that it's true, and it's actually articulated in Colorado statute that comprehensive plans are guiding documents. You can take it and put it into code and make it and codify it, but the document in and of itself is not law. Now, we are about to go through, as Peter just said, we are actually going through the process of RFPs for a comp plan. We are going to do the update. It is recommended that we do an update every 10 years. We are at that point. We'll be past it in 2024. Part of the BOT's goals and why we put those goals into place was that the comp plan is going to be a very big part of our next year and probably the following year. The first focus is going to be a sub-area plan of the central business district, where we are going to focus specifically on that area and articulate for the town what we want the central business district to look like. So I would encourage you, if you get a chance, if there are just certain pieces that you're interested in, go into the comp plan file, do, what is it, Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac. Look for the keywords you want to look for if you don't have time to look through the entire document. But these are those frequently talked about documents, the planning documents that people often ask about. Yes, question.
So for both of these, so the answer is probably different. I'm looking through some of the stuff from Envision. Are there, I get that there's like people on committees for Envision, and I'm not sure about the comprehensive plan. Do either have like, how does like public input work for either of those? Like, are there,
Well, I'm gonna kick that over to Miranda because she was actually a part of Envision 2030, and she will be very heavily involved in the comprehensive plan. So Miranda, you wanna go with that one?
Yeah, so I would say for both, so Envision 2030, I actually tried to raise my hand. So couple of things on that one. So there's an Envision 2020 that people might be familiar with, and that's why Envision 2030 was born, was Envision 2030 was only supposed to last for, or 2020 was only supposed to last for 10 years. So, but Envision 2030 was grounded in an attempt to get public feedback. There were some surveys out there, but as staff, we are not experts in consultant and public engagement on that scale, community input. And so really felt like we were getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. And so that's why it's just vision statements. But in the comp plan, the consultant is required to seek input both through community feedback. So that might be in the form of surveys or public engagement meetings, going to events, but they're also required to run through the NPP process, which means they'll of course come to all the boards and commissions and get your feedback on what you're looking for over the next 10 years, really also tied to those vision statements that came out of Envision 2030.
thank you.
The comp plan will take about a year to accomplish. So you'll be hearing a lot of it very soon.
I hear like a year to accomplish the goals and objectives in it. You mean?
Say
Or
that
to,
again.
like make it. Sorry, I was reviewing some of the other comp plan stuff. A year to
finish the comp plan.
finish it.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the update, it will take about an entire year.
Update it from
to
the
meet-
2013 one.
Yeah, to meet
Okay.
to meet with the public. to
Sure, that
consult,
makes sense.
Yeah, and to do all the updates, because 61-page document.
Yeah, it makes total sense. To
Right. The other goal that we have is to make it much more clear.
Right.
One of the things, the complaint with this current comp plan is like, it's suggested that, or
Okay.
it's advised that. It's like, no, let's just make it very clear who we are. And then codify that language in our code.
Right on.
How does this relate to the PROSAB update that are like,
Yeah.
will that be part of the comprehensive plan? No.
It's not a part of it, but if you do, like, one of the things that I looked in here was trails, right? And it references which coincides. So for instance, on page 2, it says at the very last paragraph, and the last sentence, furthermore, master plans must also contain a recreational tourism element for state Colorado law, which coincides with Netherlands' 2013 Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan update. So that, if anything, the PROS will inform, and Miranda, correct me if I'm wrong, but the PROS will inform the comp plan and some of the updates that you guys are doing.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. And
Comp plan's kind of the master document.
Comp plan is like the master.
Others are like sub documents that inform more specifics potentially.
Yeah, I mean,
Kinda.
yeah, and Nikki,
In the
like,
case of the PROS.
I'm sure if there was like a conflict or whatnot, which I can't imagine
Yeah.
there could be.
I was just curious, trying to understand.
Can imagine that there would be either, if there
It
was.
seems like they're done right, they kind of line up anyways and support each other.
One of the advantages that we will have is that we will be revisiting the PROST as well as the comp plan at the same time. And so if we're
That seems
seeing
great, so you got the same
conflict,
people talking about stuff in terms.
well, not the same people. but, roast will be done by us as a PROSAB board and the town staff, whereas comp plan will be contracted out with, whoever.
The consumer.
Yeah. Also, take note, we have housing study that is finishing up at the end of this year. We have the multimodal plan. We have PROSAB dates. There are these other things that are happening that are also like the pros going to be informing the comp plan and it's going to, or the comp plan may be, helping to inform them. So there's this, we're going to use all these other plans to our benefits to help build out the rest of the comp plan. Because it's information. I mean, the study, the information that's coming out of our housing study, hands down, will have to go into the comp plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's going to dictate a lot of policy making for the next very many years.
You
Okay,
good to
Nada.
wrap up?
I'm done.
We have a little extra, we're not like super packed tonight, so, and this is very, very important stuff.
But any questions you guys have, always feel free to reach out to myself or Miranda or of course Jesse. But yeah, these are some of those founding documents that we'll always kind of go back to and just be like, well, what did they say back then? What was some of the vision? Because I think that is why Cat also put all those, founding documents for your guys' group is there is a perception amongst the public that we forget all the boards turn over. There's forgetting. This is also why we just went through and did the BOT goals. We explicitly state, we want this to be a handing off document to whoever gets, elected in April, say, hey, this is what we need to work on. This is what's more important than any pet project or new project or anything else. Like, let's just stick to this and do what people want done for a really long time.
Which is what happens if you're like, well, I don't know what we did before. We should do this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's understandable, but yeah.
But if it's like, and then it's hard to get that thing done because you're like, there's the turnover and some of these things take time.
Yeah. And for us as a BOT, what's budgeted
Right.
gets attention. And so that was a really big deal. Put it in the list so that it gets budgeted for.
Yeah. And I'll add the documents that Nicole sent.
Oh, cool.
That I just forwarded to y'all to that PROSAB specific, sort of hub of community engagement and a link.
Cool.
I'll put a link to, so just to have it all in one place. Well, thank you both for being here.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate it and for all of your work on all of this, so. Peter, I put on here, I didn't know if you still needed.
Yes. I was gonna bring it up as a public comment and then I saw you put it on here, like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. We were awarded a grant through the Colorado Tourism Office for Destination Blueprint. I don't know if you remember 2-ish months ago or so now when I presented about Reimagined Destinations, the work we did from last November through May. This is a continuation of that work. A little bit more tighter in scope. With Reimagined Destinations, we were just trying to figure out how town would operate as a tourism destination and what our role in that is. And this is a bit more tightened down to continue that work. And I am looking for a core team, and I would love to have someone from PROSAB on that. It would require 3 meetings virtually between now and October. And then at the end of October, there's a all day, we'll actually probably split in 2 days, so 2 half days, workshop similar to what we did with Reimagined Destinations to really focus in on that work. So if anyone would like to be a part of that, I would love to have you. Sam?
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet.
Yay,
I
thank you,
will,
Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Send you an invite to the doodle poll for
Cool,
our
yeah.
first meeting.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Perfect, thank you. All right.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Didn't take 5 minutes, great.
Yeah.
And with all of the work with tourism, just if you guys could help repeat, it's about managing the visitors that we have.
Yes.
We are not trying to grow more
Right.
people.
I have officially renamed it from just, whatever I called it originally,
Yeah.
tourism management, to tourism management and education. That is what it is called.
Yeah. And,
Specifically
Yeah.
focused on the management and the education.
right. So help us spread that word as well.
Totally. Actually, super quick, so I don't forget, I was at Calwood this last weekend for like a retreat. And they have on the back of every door imaginable, like the leave no trace and wildfire safety principles you get from the Colorado Department of Tourism
Yeah.
and LNT. And they're really good.
I
So-
have copies of those that were sent to me from the um, tourism management system.
Yeah, so they're great. And I was thinking if those could be on like the back of every bathroom in town, like.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna talk about the tortilla chips and the bighorn sheep.
I can print out 4 of those.
Oh, no, that was at,
Oh,
Well,
that was at Mount Goliath, not at Calwood, but
This
no.
would be fun for me to be involved in.
Yeah.
I used to work for Leave No Trace.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a traveling trainer with my wife. We traveled around the Western US and would educate people about,
Nice.
responsible tourism. So it'd be fun.
Oh, you're the perfect person to be on this
And
committee.
their offices are in Boulder, so like.
Yeah,
that's beside me.
Really nice people.
Yeah.
They come up and do stuff with like wild bear.
Right, totally. They always had teams going. We were like,
But yeah, those were just, I was like, oh my God, they're made. They exist. We can just like
yeah,
print
they've
and,
got so much material. Then they're like, have stuff that
and I learned
stay.
like sitting there reading
Yeah.
them, and I live in the mountains, you know,
Yes.
like.
And that's one of the other tenets of this work is what's good for communicating and educating visitors is also very good for locals, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing. And this is also perhaps an opportunity for some of trustee Seaver's good neighbor guidelines, right?
Yeah.
It's like, when you come to the mountains, how should you treat the mountains,
Right.
kind of a thing, and how should you treat the people around you? There's correlating
Yeah.
overlap, for sure.
And don't feed the wildlife.
And don't feed.
That was the thing I was telling Nicole about. I saw someone feed a great horn sheep tortilla chips yesterday, and I had lost my bananas.
I
So,
kind of feed it.
like out of his car window.
Wow. It's kind of like.
I started yelling.
I know.
Anyway, he couldn't hear me because I was in my car, but I was yelling. Yeah, not here, by the way. We have great horn sheep,
Yeah.
but so okay, awesome. Is Miranda back? You guys are great, wonderful. All right, I have you 15 minutes. I didn't know if you needed that much time.
Probably not.
Awesome. So let me turn it over to Miranda and Nikki. Their proposal for the post update, and they have like information that I linked to for agenda request form on here, but I'm sure they'll go through it.
Miranda, you want to take this one or you want to do?
Again, so as Nikki just explained, the post is on us. We don't have the funding to secure a consultant. However, Nikki and I feel confident we can update the post ourselves if we take it on in little bite-sized chunks. There are 7 chapters and then of course some appendices per chapter. But what we'd like to do, or what we're proposing, is making a subcommittee of 4. So myself and Nikki plus 2 PROSAB members. And we work on a chapter during 1 month, and then we bring it before PROSAB, our recommended changes the following month, and do kind of a 2-month jump. And I put it in the agenda request form of how the structure would work, with really a goal of finalizing the document by beginning of Q4 2024, and the board adopting it by the end of the year, which is what we put on our strategic plan. So I think really the question before you is, how do you feel about the plan? Do you support it? Are you comfortable with it? And then who would like to partner with me and Nikki on tackling this?
Hey Miranda, I have a question. When I looked at was your idea that we would devote like time in the 2-month structure, like would we devote part of one meeting to like digging into it? No, okay. So it'd be more.
I think it's a little bit of a kickoff meeting, right? It's like at the beginning of every month, our group would connect. We would upload the language to a Google Drive, at people's time and their leisure. They could go in and make recommended edits. But no, I don't think it's like a group think meeting where we all dive into it together. It's like giving each other space to work on it throughout the month, come together at the beginning of every month, clean it all up, and bring it to PROSAB in month 2.
Oh, that's great. Cool.
I guess of course, I think I already said I would do this, but to help you too, I am curious, like when I look at the pros, Nikki says she's overwhelmed by it and it scares her, and it's 172 pages. So I'm like slightly hesitant to just recreate.
Did I say that?
It scares you?
Yeah, they did.
I thought you said you see it on the shelf and it intimidates you. I might be misquoting
Because,
you.
because it was not something that I can tackle,
Right.
Yeah.
not the book itself.
Yeah.
Like the plans that are in it, like how am I
Right.
supposed to build a
Like
pool in
execute.
Nederland? Yeah.
Right, right. But I'm like,
Yeah.
then can we just make it a more manageable document? I really like the Board of Trustee goal document. It can be slightly longer than that, but like something that is so tangible, concrete, and isn't like, I don't know if we need this for funding purposes, so jump in and tell me I'm wrong, but I'm like really hesitant to commit ourselves to 172 pages of updating
Yeah.
this
I
text.
love that idea. I love, it doesn't have to be a novel.
Right.
It can be something, if we take those chapters,
Right.
take out what we don't need, or maybe we've already done, and sort of summarize it, make it easier for all of us to be able to make it a more friendly document. It is
Bite-sized
not
chunks,
friendly.
that was your
Would
term.
it be
Bite-sized
more
chunks.
valuable, like not as a giant thing,
Yeah.
like as a something chunked down to like real?
I love the idea of a 61-page document. I love that. When she said comp plan 61 pages, I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'll take it.
Or
Because
even what you could do, what you could have like is you could have like, it might be a slightly longer document for some of the information, but you could have like a 2 or 3 page document at the beginning that's similar to the Board of Trustees strategic plan that lays out really like simply and carefully like what like the goals are for the
sure.
team.
Miranda?
Oh, Miranda?
Plan, and just the 2013 comp plan is an update. And so what you'd be looking at is a PROSAB update where no, you don't have to recreate, but I think the thought was by tackling it chapter by chapter really was like assessing what we want. And it doesn't mean we definitely have to like recreate the language, but do the update like the 2013 comp plan is of the original comp plan.
Yeah, and you can always reference the 2013 one, right? Like,
How many people do you want engaged in it? Like, I'm interested in that. I've been, kind of did a sprint with the pump track stuff. That's over to a degree. And so I'm like happy to jump into something else.
I think she said 2 PROSAB members to,
Yeah, and Alex
Yeah.
already expressed interest. I don't know. if
And I'd
there's
be more
any-
than happy to
anybody.
get involved. It's something that feels like core to what we're doing.
Mhm.
So I'd love to
Huge.
be involved.
And
with it.
we had the advantage that PROSAB did so much of the
Yeah, yeah.
outreach last year, and we had the students that helped us with the trails portion of it, so
yeah.
trying to incorporate that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the idea would be, in the end, try and figure out how we're gonna create the new book, so to speak, but,
Yeah. That excites me because I've kind of worked on specific projects. It'd be cool to work on some of the core infrastructure that.
I think the way that Miranda and I are proposing to break it down into bite-sized chunks, chapter by
Yeah.
chapter, there are, a couple months for each chapter. I don't feel like it's gonna be something that, all right, you got a month, good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
It feels doable,
Yeah.
so.
How much time do you think you would need at each meeting for the sort of review?
No more than an hour, and that it was really just like circle wagons, make sure we're all on the same page of like what is the intention of this chapter, what are our goals, what are our objectives, what are we trying to get out of it, but just like quick little touch bases is how I envision those monthly meetings.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, Miranda, clarify, I meant at like the PROSAB monthly meeting, how much time would
For
you?
this.
Yeah, like this
Right.
meeting.
Sorry, 20, 30 minutes. I know it's a big ask.
No, I do think it is, but it's also, we'll get to that in a sec. It's gonna be our #1 priority most likely, right? And so I think allocating a quarter of every meeting to like a hugely important thing seems reasonable to me, so.
Yeah.
Cool. So is anyone else interested besides Sam and Alex? Do you guys wanna like duke it out in the corner?
I'm interested.
My only ask would be if you're gonna have more than one interested, still narrow it down to 2, because sunshine law is a big barrier in trying to get things moved forward.
Yeah, no, I think
we have 3 members, everything's gotta be public, and I mean, it makes it very complicated.
yeah, no, I think we should definitely keep it.
I'll let Sam and Alex run with it. if you guys need support on a given month, just tap me and I'll step in for you.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, you too. And
Yeah.
thanks, Miranda and Nikki, for thinking it through and making it happen.
Great.
Awesome. Any other questions on that or?
I had something that I guess I was gonna bring up, like under other business, and I'm sorry I didn't submit this as a discussion item, but I saw that, I'm assuming Peter posted about the Colorado Energy Office e-bike rebates that are coming out, which is super exciting. And so kind of more of a big picture question, I guess, is, you know, how like the concept of e-bikes and how that might fit into PROST and, you know, just in general, I guess, PROSAB, and, you know, what sort of regulations there are. So I kind of just wanted to float kind of the big topic of e-bikes and whether that fits into PROST or how that is going to be kind of contemplated moving forward for Ned.
In the
I don't know if
current,
this, oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Nikki.
in the current PROST master plan, when we talk about bikes, it doesn't really talk like, "Hey, this is an e-bike or this is whatever, it talks about bikes. I think that would be potentially not something, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong or if anyone feels differently, but I don't think we would specify e-bikes in our bicycle plan.
I mean, they need the same.
Oh,
Well,
So,
that not necessarily, because right now I believe it's illegal to take an e-bike on a Boulder County mountain bike trail. So there are.
Oh,
I meant road biking.
Yeah,
Like,
road
if
biking.
it's a multimodal path, an e-bike can go on it.
What actually happens?
What I will say is, sorry, it's hard when you're remote.
We just go like, how do we plan ahead for that?
I think so.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
that's-
Versus like trying to be like, you can't do this. And it's like, well, cool, but everybody's gonna do it anyway, so why
Yeah.
don't we just plan for it?
That's kind of like, I think Casey's point is a good one, because it is like,
Yeah.
they are bikes, but like, I do think it's gonna open up opportunities, and also there are
Right.
barriers in place from the
Would that,
county.
Miranda, would you, in your opinion, would that fall more under the multimodal transportation plan?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is actually SAB has been talking about e-bikes, and really kind of the zero waste team and a variety of different teams in the SAB world. Might be good to have a collaborative meeting because SAB actually didn't want to go forward with pursuing a funding opportunity for e-bikes due to a lot of concerns about them being left all over town and us not having the personnel to go get them and having that shared bike system. And so I think that this is belongs in a lot of different corners, this conversation, and it would be good to get Leah here or members of SAB, more members of SAB, because I know Trustee Sterling is on it, but just to talk through that. But yeah, ultimately they just had concerns about we don't have the staffing to handle an e-bike program, especially if it was a bike share program, not just like incentive.
Oh, I think we lost you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe that,
They are.
Can you hear us?
I don't know how much of you that you caught or not,
I
but
think we got most of it.
okay, yeah. Long story short,
Nope.
No, we lost you again. Sorry.
The moment you try to explain it.
Yeah.
again, in like share type.
So I think maybe, Casey, would you be interested in like reaching out to the SAB folks and like
Sure.
seeing?
Yeah, and I was kind of just generally broaching e-bikes as kind of just like a broad concept, whether they're allowed on like certain Ned trails, and if that is something we want to do a carve out or, you know, address in the PROST or how that works. But all the other issues like the staffing with managing a town e-bike program seems logistically difficult. But I just think it's kind of a topic of interest that we'll probably be getting more inquiries about. So I'm happy to reach out to SAB and maybe present something, do a discussion item in the next couple months.
That'd be cool. My personal opinion is that it's like they're here to stay, and so we gotta find a way to incorporate them and make it safe for them to be around if there are considerations around that, and be inviting of it versus otherwise it's just gonna happen anyways. So we might as well try and manage it.
And they're great for accessibility.
Yeah, they're awesome.
For like
Totally.
clean transportation and.
Yeah, and the state's really, you know, they're trying to get people to drive less, you know, gas guzzling cars, and so the state's incentivizing people to get e-bikes with these rebates, you know, if you hit a certain income threshold. So I just think it's something that maybe we should be thinking about in a broad PROSAB in a broad way, and just making sure we're, staying on it.
Wonderful. And on
I have
that,
a quick question about the PROST replanning process real fast.
Yeah.
Is there a way for myself, for example, or any of the rest of us on PROSAB to give like public comment on particular chapters that you might be looking at so that you can integrate those into your work as a subcommittee?
That's a good idea, like from a
So
sunshine law
that
perspective.
would be the point of the public meeting, bringing it back to PROSAB every other month, is to not only get PROSAB members feedback, but we would welcome community member feedback as a part of public comment.
I'm just wondering if we could offer comment before you go and do your work so that you could try to integrate whatever comment you get before you go and do your revisions.
Always, of course.
So can you just let us know which ones you're going to be focusing on for the upcoming round?
Yeah, so it's in the packet. I think as long as Alex and Sam are okay with it, we would adhere to the structure that's outlined in that agenda request form, with everything kicking off next month.
Okay.
September, Jesse, we're tackling September and October will be chapter 1. And
Okay,
then
cool.
on and so forth for the 7
And
chapters.
then it kind of states in the packet where we would submit any comments that we'd like to offer.
I mean, I think you're going to have to send it directly to staff from a sunshine law, and then we can pass
What
it on
about
to
it
Alex
having
and
it be on?
Sam.
Can we put it on Engage Nederland or something like that?
Yeah, Peter?
Yep.
yeah,
No
I mean,
reason why.
I do think it would be good to have, I think it would be good to have like besides the clear schedule, like a clear place, like in a reminder for like when we need to submit info and stuff. So we're not like submitting after you guys have already done your work.
Right.
And I'd like the public to be engaged in it to a degree as well, to the extent that we're capable of engaging them through the Engage Nederland.
Yeah. All right, so we need to move on to get to our last agenda item. But if there are any other thoughts on that, definitely, I think, let Miranda know in particular, and then she'll share with the subcommittee. Okay, so the last item on the agenda is for us to revisit the PROSAB goals and priorities that we had those 2 work sessions on. And that we submitted our own like votes for prioritization on, which I then compiled. So this is a lot of information, so I'm going to try to just like summarize real quick. And I think Alex will be
Quick
back.
question. For action items, CT was asking if we could vote on approving the sign that he made, the Moose Meadows sign. So wherever we want to put that in.
Cool. Why don't we do that after?
Totally. Works
Yeah,
for me.
that would be great. I
I
think.
didn't
You
wanna-
can't vote on something that's not on an agenda.
Don't know, but we can do it next time.
Okay.
And
Sorry, CT.
I thought that it was just subject to approval by Nikki or by the Parks Department. I don't know if we had to approve of the sign.
It is. He just showed it to us, but yeah, we don't actually.
Okay, cool.
If you want to discuss it under other business for Nikki to say yes, she approves it, that's fine. But you can't take a vote on something that's not on the agenda.
Why don't we get to our goals and then we'll revisit that at the end. So, so as a reminder, we had 2 work sessions where we brainstormed all the goals and all the land. And then we sorted those, and then everyone voted on which they thought should be our top 5 priorities for PROSAB. This is my attempt to summarize that, connected to the town strategic plan. And I have a proposal for how we could sort of vote to thumbs up this going forward. I am not at all wed to this. I was just thinking there was a lot of different bits of information, and I was trying to like figure out how to like do this in a way that's not totally overwhelming, but might make sense to people. So if people have other thoughts, that's great.
Thanks for taking a stab at it.
Sure. I did this yesterday. I was like, okay. So what I was thinking is there's basically 3 buckets of goals here, right? So there's the PROSAB goals that we all voted on. there's the town strategic plan goals and priorities that the Board of Trustees has already voted on. Those are what like Nikki is hammering on, all of that. And then there's also the list we had of advocacy, right, from the meeting, which is stuff that we're not doing anything actively on necessarily, but just like if it comes up, we may like weigh in on it. So my proposal was basically that we, so the PROSAB goals, they came out, the top 5 things from the prioritization survey came out. PROST is the number 1 by far and away. So yay, good job, guys. A volunteer program, like creating and like doing volunteer stuff. The Chipeta playground update was after that, or sorry, also tied with that with 5 votes. The pump truck got 4 votes. And then town trail connectivity, conservation easements, and funding all got 3 votes. So they like tied. And then everything else got 1 or 2 votes. And if you can see the full list, but these were the tops. So what I was proposing, and then of course, right, like the town priorities, there's a lot, right? So like finish Barker Meadows, update the ice rink and pickleball, secure funding for Chipeta, all of that. So what I was thinking, and again, totally open to differing things on this, but was that we vote for our 1 through 4 to be from our list, taking actually out Chipeta, because I'll get to that in a sec. So PROST update, volunteer program, pump track, and then either funding or conservation easements. We'd have to figure that out. And then add a number 5, which would be support town staff priorities as requested/needed, right? So that could be trying to help with fundraising, it could be volunteering, it could be spreading the word, and that would be all of the stuff that's on, like, including Chipeta, which is why I took it out of the list.
Or even just like advocating for something they need.
Exactly, yeah, and it would be codified in our goals that those are a huge part of, and that could be number 1 actually, but like, anyway, the numbering, I don't know, really matters that much, but so that was my thinking and I'm just curious what people think about that. And then we would also just note that the advocacy list exists, and that's great, but really our top 5 goals would be PROST update, volunteer program, pump track, either funding or conservation easements, and then supporting Nikki and town staff in executing the strategic plan.
The only thing I'll say about that is like, I wonder at this stage with the pump track, because we're already like kind of moving it along in the design process, does it need to be
Yes,
a goal?
yes,
Okay,
1000%.
okay.
So
Like, could we put
I have
something else-
Barker Meadows as one of my goals,
Okay.
even though Barker Meadows is gonna be
Gotcha.
completed in September. It's a nice way to let the public know, look, I finished something.
Oh, okay, cool.
I checked something off my list. And it
That
also
makes sense.
forces you to stay focused while the contract is
Exactly.
being designed.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering if it was like, this is, feels like we're moving on and it's in motion and like maybe a new thing gets to be in the.
I
new
do
priorities.
envision that both the BOT goals and PROSAB goals would be living documents.
Okay,
That as we check things off, that we can talk about adding other things to
yeah,
the list of priorities and that kind of thing. But
And
to make the lists tangible, and something that we can show the public, like we're achieving our goals, is important.
and I think they should all be things that are moving and in the works, as opposed to like, because it's for just the next 18 months, right? Like
Sure.
23, 24. So like as opposed to like, the reason I proposed the 4th goal should be either funding or conservation easements and not town trail connectivity/signs is because I actually think that's PROST, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but like, what would we actually do on, like, as a PROST?
I'll teach you to run the roller.
I know, right? Like, are we gonna be out there?
Gotta be
But
back there in the baby tractor.
like
Andy.
as a goal, it's like, well, we want trail connectivity and sign, that's pretty high on our list, but then it's the other thing as a board, make those happen.
And the other thing about trail connectivity too, is that's gonna be a huge project. We're never gonna
Exactly.
stop connecting trails. We're never, I mean.
And does
in my
like working on the PROST drive that forward?
exactly, that's
Like, is that not above it, but like drives the direction
Yeah,
of
there's,
the
there's a whole
tactical?
chapter on trails.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and like
My
for what it's
directions.
worth, like I think town trail connectivity is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I just didn't quite get where it fit.
Of how we actually do it.
Yeah.
As the board, other than say, do it. Like.
Exactly,
it's a
right?
great
And it's
idea.
not on the, like the PROST is on the priority list.
Right, because that's something we can action and do.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not trying
That
to
then
say. I
drives
don't
the
think it's
priorities of, yes, trails are really, connectivity is really important. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, what do other people think?
How do you think about leveraging this? Like, I'm envisioning everything we do as a board is aligned to one of the 5 goals, and each of the goals has multiple owners, because I think one of the things we struggle with as a sunshine law situation is we meet once a month for 2 hours, and it is hard to harness the energy in between. And
Yeah,
I
it's right,
think,
like with sunshine law.
Right.
Pretty hard.
yeah, because we
It's like
cannot
legit hard.
communicate collectively, but if you assign no more than 2 people to each of the goals,
Yeah.
and there can be, like someone can be assigned to more than one goal, but it's a good way to harness the energy, ensure that with, everyone is doing like items in between meetings.
Yeah.
And like for every agenda item, it's like, is this aligned with one of our 5 goals? If not, why are we talking about it unless we've completed one or more of those goals?
Yeah,
Except for public comment, of course.
Yeah.
We need to engage with the public.
Sorry, that's part of the goal.
yeah.
Just kidding.
No, I think it's a really good point. I think whenever we decide, like, I do think having 1 or 2 point people for each I think that's a great idea. I think that in terms of meeting agendas, I wouldn't want to not allow topics out, like, that don't fall into one of these, but more like prioritize, right? Like, if we, like, make sure, like, I wouldn't want to be like, oh, we can't talk about this, like, interesting idea. Like, I would I think I more think about it, and this is just personal opinion, I more think about it like in terms of allocating like real resources and time, and like taking on, like, committing to big projects, as opposed to like, yeah, we can totally discuss something.
Right.
Like if someone has a really great idea or what have you, but like, we would have to think really hard about, like, we'd be like, is there, what, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
And I think if a meeting agenda were like packed, then I would use this list to decide what to either not have on there, or to bump to the next month, or to shorten, or what have you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
We gotta have some direction on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, I think there's a lot we all want to do here, and it's like we can do it all, but we may not be able to do it all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do other people?
unless we can come up with a way to do it all at once.
And
Give it more staff, guys.
that's the funding part,
That's
but
where-
A lot of staff, a lot of money.
quadruple the Parks Department, and yeah. What do other people?
Which is like something we could consider, looking at how to do that.
Rita might kill me. I know Rita a lot of wine.
Folks who haven't spoken up yet, does anybody want to add anything or weigh in? It's fine if you don't.
Mike is raising his hand. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
I
That's the question.
allow public comment now, but I'll wait.
Think so?
I don't know.
Sure, Mike.
Miranda would know.
We're
You
interested
can
in
do, you can do public comment whenever after any item you want.
Oh, okay, thanks. Silly question, but isn't the PROS master plan the original goals document?
No, so the PROST is the Parks, Recreation, Open Space Trails Plan. And that is what we need to update this year.
And that gives me my guidance, this is Nikki Dunn, that gives me the guidance of things that I need to do. The goals list that we're trying to come up with right now are goals that we would have and complete within the next 18 months. ultimately, the goals that we have on our list that we're speaking of now will be part of the PROST as well. But they are two different documents.
Yeah, and I think one of the connecting factor here is what I'm proposing, which is that, so this is the goals document for the PROSAB advisory board. And the strategic plan that the BOT just passed is the guiding document for the town staff in terms of what they're implementing on a, like a day-to-day and a week-to-week. And these two tie together in that they're many overlapping projects. And then also in what we're proposing here, that priority 5 would be to support town staff in the priorities that they're executing. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, I kind of, just curious. So PROST master plan is not a PROSAB document. They're like separate, but working together.
That's a great way of putting it. The PROST master plan is, PROSAB is an advisory board. The PROST master plan is the plan that the community came for to guide the Parks and Rec, even though when they came up with the plan, we didn't even have a Parks department. It was where the community envisioned the town heading, as far as different things that they wanted to see happen in town. So that plan is now 11 years old, and it needs to be, those kinds of plans need to be updated every 10 years. The goals that the PROSAB board is coming up with are goals for them, as well as for the BOT to help to guide them and to guide me as to where we'd like to see that go. Ultimately, those two different things should hold hands, but they are different. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's helping. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Here's mine.
Mike, can I ask you a question real quick?
Ask me?
Mike, a
Oh.
question.
Sure. Just to note, we just have 6 minutes left
Okay,
in our
I'll be
meeting.
real.
So, but
Mike, just to ask you a question real quick. Is there anything that you see on there that you feel like is not connected in the goals that we're discussing now?
Like the parks manager was saying, it's kind of out of date. We're long in the tooth there, 2013, so it definitely needs to be updated. But I was just wondering, like, if they were one and the same for PROSAB, then whatever your goals that you're coming up with now should be proposed into the PROST plan, and then it's kind of harmonized. All groups are working together, all
Yep.
people are working on the same things, and then, yeah. So
Summarized
I
it.
think there's some good things to take away from the 10 years ago document, and a lot of good things to bring in that are current, and I don't know, just kind of harmonize it all and get all of town on board.
yeah, no, that will definitely be
Did that
the,
answer your question, Sam? Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. That was meant in a thoughtful way to you, and I appreciate the thoughtful response.
yeah. Yeah, and the goal will definitely be for these to harmonize with each other, as you put it. I like that term. So thank you. All right, so
Looking for a motion.
well, yes. So what I would like to do is 3 motions that are written down here. So the first would be to vote to support, well, actually, I guess there's 4, sorry. So the first would be to support the first 4. So as our first 4, actually, we can do it all at once probably. So our goals as PROSAB for the rest of 2023 through 2024 would be PROST update, volunteer program, pump track, either funding or conservation easements. So we have to just vote on that real quick. And then 5 would be support town staff priorities as requested / needed. So
And the playground wasn't.
exactly, yeah, because so Chipeta and Rink and everything, they're listed on the back here, or I guess it's on the back of mine, but it's everything that's in the strategic plan for town to execute in the next 18 months.
Is the tourism on there? Is it in the thought, the tourism?
I don't know.
I don't.
Oh, if it is, we should include it, because if Sam's helping out with that, Like that's in supporting town staff.
It's one of,
Probably on there.
Destination blueprint is not in the strategic plan.
that's not part of, no, but we are,
Only, yeah, the marketing one, sorry.
part of the, that is, of Destination Blueprint is to support the marketing branding strategy.
And that's on the.
Yes,
Okay.
that one is on.
The only, can I add one thing? Or are you done with the motion? I don't want to interrupt there. The one thing I see in the pros that we're gonna like be working through that's not really reflected in our goals here, and that we're gonna have, we like have nothing around it, is there's like a major goal in the 2013 pros that's around support the measure need for indoor aquatic recreation by exploring ways to compensate for Netherlands' lack of a pool, and then it goes on the other piece around water recreation areas. Institute a boating program on Barker, Menor, Westward that meets the demonstrated need for local boating and enhances local recreational opportunities.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything to like guide that in there so far, and it is like a major goal in the 2013 that we're gonna have to work through. And so that is the one question that I think we sort of addressed some of the other pillars that are in that existing document, but we
Yeah.
actually don't have anything to touch that at the moment, you know?
Yeah, so the pool got one vote in the
Right.
PROSAB prioritization, and I think I don't think we can have a discussion about the pool tonight, but there's a lot of like
There's a lot
complications
there.
in history there.
I just know there's the 2013 like approach that we're gonna have to go and revisit.
Right.
It's like, well, it's probably gonna create more discussion around it than we've prioritized for, so.
Yeah.
do we
It's
need
a
to
living
incorporate-
document, so we can always add
Can we?
things later.
Okay,
But the goals that we've got, Kat's got them lined out pretty well. The BOT's got a
right,
whole
right.
other thing for me.
I think the thing I would note is that this is for the next 18 months, and the PROS is going to be updated over the next year.
So then that's.
So- Yeah, and I do think it's a really good point because the public has really weighed in a lot on the aquatic issue.
Right.
I was one of them. And I think like that's gonna be, the next time PROSAP does goal setting,
Yeah.
change like how people enact with that, and same with
Totally.
like the Barker thing, although that actually is on our advocacy list because it's out of our
Right, it's
jurisdiction.
kind of weird.
since it's
Yeah.
City of Boulder, but it is on our advocacy
Yeah.
list. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good point, and I think like ideally, some of the synergy, it will be as PROST is updated, then next time, a year from now, because it'll probably be a year from now when PROSAB needs to start goal setting for the following 18 months, hopefully it'll be like super lined up with what is in the PROST, you know?
That makes sense.
I hope, so.
I think our motion only have 4 because the supporting town staff priorities, like I'm helping with rank and there might be more to do with Chipeta and it's only 18 months. And those alternatives you have on line 4 feel like big things that might not be feasible to do in the next 18 months. And I don't want to stretch this too thin. So my vote would be to have those 3 plus supporting town staff priorities.
Alex, you just moved up a notch in my book.
Seriously, that is such a good idea. Also because funding,
Was I not already at the
I
top?
mean, I don't even know how you did it.
because like helping with funding could be part of like so many of the things
Yeah,
anyway.
like it's taken a decent, like I attended a rink meeting today with Nikki and Miranda. It takes time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's super smart.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
a big undertaking.
yeah. Genius. All right, well, should we do like a motion to do the 1 through 4?
I'll move to do 1 through 3 plus supporting town staff priorities as the 4th.
I will second that emotion. Oh, sorry, second that motion. Did I really just say that?
I always wanted to say that.
That was good.
Great. Alex,
Yes.
Kat, yes. Sam,
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Oh yeah, because CT had to pop out, right?
Right.
Everybody. All right, go team. Oh, shoot, and then the other one was to just, do we have to really vote on that? Like the advocacy list, or just know that it's there? Like, so that's the last thing is I suggested taking a few things out because they're on the staff list. So we're not, we don't need to have them in two different places. So like complete Barker Meadows, resurface pickleball court, revisit staff pay, since that just happened, which is amazing. And then the Riverwalk is actually DDA and, but anyway,
What I'll say from my experience of going around and trying to have something passed is that if a board has given some kind of direction towards something versus just they feel good about it, but they haven't officially sort of said, yeah, not for this kind of thing, it's hard to point back and say, well, they said that they were excited about that.
that's a good point.
So I think we should do, I don't know what that looks like. Maybe
So-
we have to ask Miranda, but
Maybe could we take out the three things that are in the staff strategic plan? So take out complete Barker Meadows, resurface pickleball, revisit staff pay, because those are already in they're happening. And then keep the remainder of the list as sort of a document to remind ourselves of what we decided we wanted to advocate on during the work sessions. And and to your point, keep the beautify First Street and Riverwalk there because of that. So even though it's not our projects.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody want a motion to give a thumbs up to that list?
I'll motion to solidify the advocacy list minus the things that are on the town staff priority list.
Great.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Sam. Casey.
Because I'm sorry.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Jesse?
Yes, sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. Lindsay?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Kat? Yes. Yay! Go team. We have goals.
It's always good to have goals.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, sorry, I was on to the next thing.
oh yeah,
I love that you're celebrating.
I'm like, moving on.
I'm a goals nerd, okay?
No, I love
I just really appreciate all of the work and thoughtfulness everyone put into this. And like Nikki said, it's a living document. And I think we should all really take Sam's point to heart, which is as we dig into the PROST, we're going to be like, wait, what about this? And we get community feedback and public input. Like, I think this is good to start with for the next
Well, I think it's helpful because we're gonna dig into something that's gonna shift things.
Totally.
We should have something to focus on while that's happening. Because otherwise
Exactly.
it could be like, wow, this just feels like we should reprioritize everything potentially. Not necessarily, but in a way to where well, what do we focus on to actually accomplish?
Yeah.
So I think it's good. It's cool, we can still keep moving things forward. And then when we finish the process, now we are boom, here's we'll probably reprioritize everything to just sort of fit into that as it makes sense as a master.
No, I think it's really smart. And I think it's a good sort of way to explain what this is versus what the PROST is and will be, because we do, I think, really want to do some super serious community input in the PROST update. And what falls out in the top 3, 4, 5 there really, in my opinion, should be what PROSAB prioritizes a year from now, So,
Cool. Oh, do we need to do some kind of motion thing for this?
no, it needs to be approved by Nikki unless
Okay.
people want to. You don't really need to. I think it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I think it looks
He's
awesome.
gonna seal it, he said himself,
Yeah.
to make it more weatherproof, so.
Yeah, I think it looks so cool. And then you had, you want one, just that says Alex.
Cute, so charming.
Yes.
Welcome to Alex.
Alex Open Space.
I think just the good next step for the goals is just ownership and tackling them for next meeting, just making sure we have an actual plan to make progress on each of the goals, volunteer program,
what does that
yeah,
mean?
we're gonna have to build that from the ground up. So that would just be my recommendation. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna move to adjourn because Lindsay and I have a birthday party to go to.
Nice. I would just say I'll send this out and then before the next meeting, folks can email me if they want to put their name on something. And then either way, we'll put it on the agenda next time and people can take point.
Yeah.
And I will second your motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
That gavel.
I really do like it. It's fun.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, I'm interested definitely in the.
I know, I think I am too.